The story you think you know is a lie. Disney's Cinderella is based on a 2,000-year-old story about a Greek slave girl sold into Egyptian captivity. The original ending involves mutilated feet and birds pecking out eyes at a wedding. This was told to children as a moral lesson, not a horror story. In the ancient world, this was justice. The real ending is coming, and it will genuinely disturb you. Stay with it. Strabo, writing in the 1st century BCE, recorded a story that would echo across millennia. In the bustling port of Naucratis, Greek merchants and Egyptian officials crossed paths daily, but one figure stood out: Rhodopis, a Greek girl captured by pirates and sold into slavery. Her journey began not with magic, but with violence, abduction on the Aegean, a forced sale in Egypt's slave markets, and a new life serving in a foreign court. Pharaoh Amasis II ruled Egypt at the time, a king known for welcoming outsiders and filling his palace with foreign entertainers. Rhodopis, renowned for her singing, caught the attention of the royal household. The evidence of Greek slaves in Egyptian courts is not just legend. Tomb paintings from this era show foreign women performing for the pharaoh, and papyri from Deir el-Medina list Greek names among royal servants. One day, as Rhodopis bathed by the Nile, a hawk swooped down and snatched her golden sandal. The bird carried it across the river and dropped it in the lap of Pharaoh Amasis II during a public audience. The golden sandal, a luxury item reserved for the elite, was more than a lost shoe. It was a symbol of status and selection. The pharaoh, intrigued by the delicate size and fine craftsmanship, ordered a search for its owner. Rhodopis was found, and her identity revealed not by love, but by the fit of her foot into the sandal. Strabo's account does not read like a fairy tale. There is no transformation, no promise of romance. Instead, a king chooses a new queen based on a token of physical difference, a shoe that fits no one else. The story's power lies in its brutal reality, a slave girl's fate decided by chance, a ruler's whim, and the silent logic of beauty as currency. The earliest Cinderella is not a dreamer waiting for love, but a survivor navigating a world ruled by power, violence, and the thin hope of being chosen. In 9th century China, a different kind of Cinderella story took shape. Ye Xian's life was marked by loss from the beginning. Her mother died when she was young, leaving her in the care of a stepmother whose cruelty knew no limits. The only comfort Ye Xian found was in a golden-scaled fish, believed to be the spirit of her dead mother. Each day she fed it scraps in secret. When the stepmother discovered this, she killed the fish and served it for dinner, erasing Ye Xian's last connection to kindness. But the bones of the fish, hidden away, became a source of magic. They granted Ye Xian fine clothes and a golden slipper for the spring festival, a festival she was forbidden to attend. The golden shoe, recorded in Duan Chengxi's manuscript around 850 CE, is not described as impossibly small. Scholars have searched these early texts for signs of foot binding, but the evidence points elsewhere. Foot binding did not spread widely until the Song dynasty, nearly a century after Ye Xian's story was first written. The original tale speaks only of a beautiful, rare slipper, its size left to the imagination. Later generations, obsessed with the ideal of the 3-inch golden lotus foot, would project their own standards onto the story, turning the shoe into a symbol of bodily control and obedience. The violence in Ye Xian's story is quieter than in other versions, but no less real. the stepmother's punishment is exile, not death. The magical helper is not a fairy godmother, but the remains of a murdered animal. Even the festival, a brief escape, is shadowed by the knowledge that Yexian's worth will be measured by what she wears and how she fits a shoe. The Chinese Cinderella is not waiting for love. She is surviving in a world where beauty, suffering, and compliance are the only paths to freedom. The legacy of Yexian's golden slipper would echo far beyond her village, setting the stage for even harsher standards in centuries to come. In 1812, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm published their first edition of Kinder- und Hausmärchen, and their version of Cinderella, Aschenputtel, bore little resemblance to the story most people know today. There is no fairy godmother, no pumpkin carriage, no magical transformation at midnight. Instead, the only magic comes from a hazel tree grown on Cinderella's mother's grave and a flock of birds that drop dresses and slippers at her feet. But the real divergence from the sanitized versions comes with the stepsisters. When the prince arrives with the lost golden slipper, the eldest stepsister, desperate to claim the prize, takes a knife and slices off her own toe. The text is blunt. The eldest cut off her toe, forced her foot into the shoe, concealed the pain, and went out to the prince. Blood fills the slipper, but the ruse is quickly exposed. Birds perched above call out the deception, warning the prince that the true bride still waits. The second stepsister tries next. She takes the same knife and hacks off a piece of her heel. Again, blood pours from the shoe, and again the birds sing their warning. The Grimms do not shy away from these details. Their commentary at the end of the tale insists that this is not cruelty for its own sake. It is a lesson. The wicked shall not escape their punishment. For the Grimms, violence was not something to shield children from. It was a tool for teaching obedience, humility, and the consequences of envy. These were stories for a world where survival depended on knowing your place, and where suffering was not just expected, it was proof of moral order. The stepsisters' mutilation was not a footnote. It was the centerpiece of the lesson. At the wedding, the Grimm's story reaches its most chilling moment. The stepsisters, still desperate for favor, walk at Cinderella's side in the bridal procession. But above them, the same birds that warned of their deceit now circle with a different purpose. The text from 1812 is blunt. Then the two false sisters came and wanted to share in her good fortune. As the bridal pair went to church, the elder was at the right, the younger at the left, and the pigeons pecked out one eye from each of them. Afterward, as they came out, the elder was at the left, the younger at the right, and the pigeons pecked out the other eye. Thus, for their wickedness and falsehood, they were punished with blindness as long as they lived. There is no hint of mercy. The punishment is public, ritualized, and absolute. The birds act as agents of supernatural justice, carrying out a sentence that the human world cannot or will not deliver. Folklorist Jack Zipes points out that this was not written as horror, but as a lesson. The stepsisters' ambition and cruelty answered with lifelong suffering. Maria Tatar, another leading scholar, calls the scene a spectacle of retribution, engineered to leave no doubt about the price of envy and betrayal. The wedding becomes a stage for vengeance. The blinding is not random violence, but a calculated response to the sisters' earlier acts, their mutilation for beauty, their willingness to spill blood for status. In the Grimm's world, justice is not gentle. It is final, and it is enforced by nature itself. The birds, once symbols of hope and comfort, now deliver the tale's harshest verdict. This is the ending that was read to children, not as a warning against evil stepmothers, but as proof that in a world obsessed with order, punishment is as real as any promise of reward. Across Europe alone, scholars have catalogued more than 345 distinct versions of the Cinderella story. Each one falls under a single entry in the Arne Thompson Uther Index, ATU 510A, known as the persecuted heroine. This system, developed by folklorists Antti Arne, Stith Thompson, and later Hans-Jorg Uther, classifies folk tales by their motifs and plots, allowing researchers to track how stories like Cinderella spread, mutate, and survive. The sheer number, 345 variants, reveals a pattern that cuts across language, religion, and geography. The core elements remain: a dead or absent mother, a girl forced into servitude, a lost shoe, and a powerful man who uses that shoe as a test. But the details shift with each culture, adapting to local customs and anxieties. From Italian Cenerentola to Scandinavian Askepot, the story is everywhere, and it is never just about romance. The scale of this phenomenon demands an explanation rooted in society, not fantasy. The reason Cinderella endures is not because it promises love, but because it lays bare the rules of survival in a world built on suffering and control. Across continents, the same motifs repeat: the dead mother, the cruel stepfamily, the impossible test of beauty or obedience. In Vietnam's Tam Cam, a murdered girl returns as a bird to punish her tormentors. In the Algonquin tale of the rough-faced girl, scars become the mark of a heroine whose value is judged by her endurance, not her charm. Anthropologists argue these stories survive because they speak to real pressures: loss, social mobility through marriage, and the constant threat of violence or exclusion. The shoe, the slipper, the foot are not romantic tokens. They are measuring sticks. They mark who is worthy, who is broken, and who gets to escape. The brutality is not an accident. It is a mirror reflecting the world that made these stories necessary in the first place. The real Cinderella endures slavery, mutilation, and blinding. Her worth is measured in suffering, not romance. These tales taught children power and punishment, not hope. Today, we still mask brutality with fantasy. And if you think this is dark, wait until you meet the original Sleeping Beauty. What do you make of it?